Welcome back, Keepers of the Flame. Okay, so for those of you with headsets on, I got this lovely little lady here, and so I'm going to be tinging on her a little bit. So just be mindful of the headphone situation. So, um, lots of transformation stuff going on. And so, if you're not like aware of what's been happening so that you're kind of at ease with this process and you had no idea and you're taking it back. Sorry about that. I just tinged on the bowl to practice it for a second and he's like, hey mom, how you doing? So for those who have not kind of been on the deconstruction path from societal constructs, if you will, this can be really jarring. I mean, I remember even just deconstructing from, how the trust in politicians, the whole system being kind of in cahoots against humanity, if you will. The belief structures that I had to give up, pass off, and let die were pretty difficult because the personal responsibility comes in and can be pretty daunting. And it can be pretty jarring when you realize just how much of yourself you've given over, that you've let slide, and now you have a maintenance issue on your hands. So not just in the body, it's in the mind and then the spirit realm too. Like I thought that this was a thing that was helping me, and in actuality it's not. um if you are having difficulties deconstructing from religious and whatever else, and you whatchamacallit, cults to consciousness is a really good channel to kind of tap into, because it's not just the Christianity here in the US or the UK or European countries. It's all Abrahamic religions. It's different cult systems that use religious indoctrination against us in any way, shape, or form. So we need to start being really discerning about, what kind of people we're letting into those spaces that are now empty. And so maybe you're one of those that kind of backslid into, oh, I just almost got into a cult, or oh, now I have to leave this cult. Whatever it is, just deep breaths. At the end of the last one, I walked you through a few deep breaths and heart coherence, which is just putting your hands over your heart and breathing in for 4 seconds, and then through your nose, and then breathing out through your mouth for 6 seconds. And the reason why I do the 6 seconds out is a lot of times, like, in our lungs, what can happen is like there's that little, it's like the truck bed theory where there's that constant overflow of air that happens with the circle pattern. Mythbusters did a thing on this. So if the tail bed is up, that little circle pattern is going to happen, and so the influx and flow of whatever is just going to go right over that circular motion thing. That can happen in our lungs, and so breathing out for 6 seconds can help flush all that extra stuff out and get new oxygen all the way into the bottom of the belly. If you're not used to breathing deeply, please make sure you are sitting down, because you can get lightheaded from all the oxygen all of a sudden being there. That's what oxygen does to your system. It oxygenates like the blood and whatever else, and you can feel lightheaded because you are not used to ingesting that much oxygen. That's why hydrogen water is so popular right now. We have so many people not breathing appropriately that like they need to drink it. Okay, so tantrum for another day. Do I drink it? No, I have not tried it. I don't know the adverse effects or positive effects or anything like that. I've heard it's spectacular. People say wonderful, fabulous things about it. So I just have this one random hair. Okay. So, oh, it's coming from that side. Okay. So hydrogen, you're sweet and cute and I love you. He's such a vicious savage. Just looks me dead in the soul. Like, but okay, so when you have a stressful situation, our coping mechanisms are like just delightful, aren't they? This is, God, my last coffee. Okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Lady, it's difficult enough. Please get your coffee. I know. So if I'm either off completely where I'm not on here at all, or I'm a little more feisty than usual. I'm already feisty. I know that. I will tell you what time it is and how many hairs are off the freckle, okay? So the thing is the thing, and I've got to do it. It's not an option. So, well, it is. It's an there's always options. There's always options. But for me right now, the way in which things are moving forward, cutting all the things that are not necessary for survival. So when we have this modality where we are tempted and able to go out and seek comfort, practices that are not so cohesive to healthy living, whatever you want to call it. So, for some people it's alcohol and drugs. For some people it's smoking cigarettes and coffee. And no, I'm not poo-pooing because hello, human, or scrolling, doom scrolling, the crystalline, staring at the dark crystal. Yeah, you thought that was that. Dang, lady, it feels like they're mocking us now. It feels that way? Are they actually mocking us? Yes, they are. Ting, ting, ting. Okay, so. Oh, that's going to be the next thing. Okay. So, how do we quit anything? We replace it with something else. And no, it's not going to be religion. And no, it's not going to be another dose of cortisol. Now, I cannot stress enough how the body detoxes from cortisol through becoming very fatigued, because we are addicted to the adrenaline that goes along with the cortisol, because people have this weird notion that there's just cortisol and it's not accompanied by anything else. Yeah, it is. It's called adrenaline. That's why you get adrenaline junkies, boys and girls. That's why you get people that can't leave abusive partners, because there's another drug there that we produce all by ourselves. And they institute it into practices, into society, into parenting, into every single solitary aspect of life. And if you're trying to detox from that, so get yourself into a practice of breath first, because that's going to keep you oxygenated. So when you can breathe on cue deeply and not get out of the body by holding the breath, that's what you're doing. So when you hold your breath, your spirit leaves your body. 6 feet, motherfucker. Ha, I'm swearing to keep your attention. 6 feet is our spirit space. It's our aura. It's not woo-woo, it's science. The air around us is making up who we are. That's our spirit. Breath. I know. It's really... I keep touching it with my rings. They need to keep it separated. Science and religion. Not allowed to touch. Only allowed to make out with their tongues and criticize each other over lunch or whatever the heck. They're just in direct competition for body count. How many team members can I have for the slaughter? It sounds bad, and it's much worse than it sounds. So how are we going to deal with it? Not by giving in to any sort of fear, blah, 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 right? We don't. step out of ourselves. We stay solitary. We stay autonomous. We stay aligned. Okay. And the first way we do that is we take a nice deep breath, and then we take another nice deep breath, and then we take another nice deep breath, and we just stare at the freaking whatever's in front of us being taken over by some Agent Smith entity, whatever you want to call it. Now, that's not to say that they are empty, soulless people. They are just so invested in the propaganda. We need to get off that whole people are soulless train thing. No, they are just so invested in the system that they just need to be dealt with differently. And it's not we're going to have to remember our own humanity. If we forget our own humanity, it's going to fall off. Which, again, is another programming in and of itself. If you're forgetting the programming that you're already indoctrinated into and you think that you're, for whatever reason, free and clear, it's not. This is a layered, structured system. And it's a lot, boys and girls. It's a lot. And it's everything has a purpose, though. Everything serves a purpose. The only problem is are you serving the purpose for the powers that be, or are you serving the purpose for humanity? And there's where you get real tricked. Super easy. So if they're soulless beings, guess what that gives you permission to do? Write them off whenever the wants them off the planet. Do you see how that works? So let's keep our humanity, okay? Drive it in a direction that's compassionate and let them deal with whatever they need to deal with, rather than go. Okay? Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Ready? You can put your hands over your heart. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out, or breathe however you need to. Okay? Remember the ears. We're going to choose something else rather than things that are going to hurt our bodies, minds, and hearts and divide us yet more from humanity. We're going to pick something else. Anything else. Because self-care is the greatest revolution we will ever have access to. The greatest revolution we will ever have access to. We don't need anything else out there. It's all in your body. It's already, everything you need is already right here within your own space. That's all you need. And they want to con you into other things, right? And you can tell by my background, I'm not being a hypocrite here. I am saying, yes, it works. So what's going to move us through that's not going to feed those systems? So I'm not saying that everybody has to go out and buy a singing bowl, but there's plenty of practitioners out there that have a lot of bowls and they're gloriously sounding. This one is the Seed of Life, 432 hertz. That's what she looks like. So, again, you don't have to get this particular bowl. And I've gotten the notion a few times that it sounds like a like a tornado alarm going off if I get too intense with it. So just be mindful that you don't have to get a bowl like this. There's ones that have a deep, soothing, grounding sound to them. Maybe getting into some visualization in your body to where the soles of your feet are growing roots into the earth, and every breath you take drives those roots deeper until it gets to the core of earth, and then you're growing and expanding from that energy. And then, you know, tree mentality, where as above so below, that kind of thing. So the deeper you go into earth, the more expanded you get into those cosmos. And the previous read, there was a cosmos connection of soulmates, and it doesn't have to be in human form. It can be through a cosmic connection. Maybe start getting into astrology. Maybe start reading about the Pleiades. Maybe you get into stellar nations. Where's my book? Maybe you get into stellar nations. Whatever it is, right? Maybe you start a new venture on journaling or reading about a new place or vlogging or whatever it is. Maybe you start diving into what you already know and bringing it to wisdom, instituting it in your own life, and then turning around to help others do the same. How freaking cool would that be? How freaking cool would that be, right? So rather than giving in to all these societal constructs that are literally giving us a non-productive modality of existing because there's rotten fruit coming off those trees consistently, we start to come into our own system, start to come into our own bodies, start to be comfortable there, start to feel safe there, and then thus in turn bringing that energy to society, rather than, this is how I was indoctrinated to think about things, so this is how I'm going to indoctrinate everybody else to think about things, and then I'm going to ignore the fact that it might have negative outcomes because everybody else is ignoring that it has negative outcomes. So if people are suffering because of your modality of existing in the world, change the modality. It's not that there's something wrong with you. It's that the powers that be instilled that process of existence. And it's not something to feel shame about. It's not something to feel regret about. It is something to say, oh, well, that's new. Guess I'm going to shift rather than shame. It's a shift. It's not a shaming, it's a shifting. And I know cancel culture is going to convince you of otherwise. Like, you should feel horrible and wretched about existing. That's why it thrives, because it's a threat on your existence. And you're watching attentively so no one puts a threat on your existence. Insidiously adorable, isn't it, darling? Okay, so take your attention away from cancel culture. Stop paying attention to what do we pay attention to? Celebrities, TV shows, all that stuff. We got to start creating our own narrative, because the higher ups are they're telling us how we are to perceive and behave in the world, when we need to go internally and function on how we were naturally made to function in the world. And people want to convince you that's going to be inherently evil and that you're gonna F it up and that blah 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 blah. Not if you're genuinely going inside, not to shame, guilt, blame, excuse or pardon yourself, but just be with what is and say, okay, I did make that mistake in the past. I did choose wrong in the past. I have done this. This is my story, and I'm going to have to sit in it. And rather than hold its hand and shovel the crap all over myself, I say, you know what? I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to move on in a directed manner that's not going to self-sabotage my future. That's how I'm going to operate. And the issue that comes along is that the modality in which we do that really matters. Are we upholding these institutions that are advocating for our demise, that are advocating for our downfall? Are we going to facilitate that? Are we going to give our time, attention, energy, slave away for a system that is seeking to demolish humanity as a whole? Are we going to do that? We think that's a good idea? I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's a terrible idea. And yes, it's going to mean like, crunchy crunch. Crunch time, kids. It's crunch time. So refrain from self-betrayal, right? Refrain from coping mechanisms that serve no real function other than to numb out entirely. Yes, you need a break. Yes, you need a reprieve. I'm not telling you can't ever have that. I'm saying keep it under a strict regimen. And those are words I do not like using. Keep it in check. Keep it in check. Going, okay, am I doing this because I need to relax? Or am I doing this because it shuts everything that I probably should be processing off and down? Okay, so if your processor is being overloaded, pick one thing at a time. Sit with it. Deal with it. Stop blaming and shaming, first of all, because that's what they need you to do. They need you to sit and fester in that guilt, that shame, whatever the hell it is. They need it. If they don't have it, the system falls. I cannot stress this enough. If they don't have the shame, the guilt, the pain, the agony, the fear, the trauma, the system falls. Self-love, self-care, self-advocation is how the system falls. Because it starts with us. It doesn't start with going out there and yelling at people to make better choices with their lives. It starts with coming inside, going, okay, this really isn't working. Finding others who are like, you know what? This whole outcome thing really sucks for humanity. Why do we keep using the same modalities of existing in the world? Great question. What are we going to do about it? Radical self-care, radical self-love, all the things they want to shame about you, all of the places they tell you not to look, people they tell you not to be, all the things. Do all of those things, because that's where you're going to find the healing. That's where you're going to find the power. Anytime they are trying to shut anything down, off, or silence, or negate, or whatever, that's where the power is. If you hadn't noticed. So when they're shaming witches, they're trying to make the darkness into some sort of malevolent whatever. That's where you're going to find your power. But you're going to have to sit in some uncomfortable truths first. You're going to have to sit with the fact that, you know what? I shamed a lot of things that probably had some pretty horrific outcomes. I made people bad for just being themselves. I made people bad for trying to exist in a system where their existence was just evil to begin with. So it didn't matter what that person did, how they said anything, or what the hell the thing was, right? Especially if they were a minority or a woman. Those are the two things that people just pig pile on when anything goes wrong. And then the poor people pig pile on those people because blah, 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 blah. They're not high vibrational. They didn't pray hard enough. Jesus is making them suffer because they're bad. No, Elmo. No. I don't mean to blame Elmo. It's not his fault. It's not Elmo's fault. That was the worst. Oh, shit. Okay. I love Elmo. I do. I bought a Tickle Me Elmo. I gave in, okay? I did not, but it was for the kids. So, I'm just trying to ease the blow through some sort of comic relief. I did not mean that Elmo was... If anybody's not part of the dictatorship, it's freaking out. Oh, okay. So scratch that. I have no editing abilities whatsoever. So it's staying. I apologize, Elmo. I love you, little buddy. I do. You're a good little fuzzball. And I don't mean to offend anybody who loves Elmo either. Okay, so getting to a space where the shame and the guilt and whatever else just is sat with. Sit with it. What can I teach? Or what can this teach me? How can I learn from this experience? What am I going to do differently moving forward? What am I going to do differently? Because if you are stuck with the shame, the blame, the guilt, the whatever the hell it is, if you're stuck with that, it's going to fester and cause disease in the body. So you got to get that out. You got to move it out. You got to get it out of your system, because you're not going to leave that pattern behind until you learn the lesson. That's just how energy works. I know it sucks. I'm not telling you it doesn't. I'm saying if we want to move past the thing, we have to sit with the lesson of it. Okay? This is my modality. I live in the dark. Hello? Look at the color of my walls. Look at that lady right there. She was like concrete color when I got her. Concrete color, like a bluish, grayish. And I painted her that color. And then my girlfriend, who I adore immensely, sent me that. Okay, so, and then you can see the claw I have over here. Like, I don't shame the darkness. I live there. That's my home. Okay, so anything like you think, oh no, nobody's ever gonna, whatever. You're right, they're not until you get over it, because you're gonna keep perpetuating it and keep telling yourself the same story. That's what they bank on, self-sabotage. So if we get to the modalities that actually shift our paradigm, shift our way of existing in the world, they don't have control, and that scares the ever-living daylights out of them. That's why they need to suppress the feminine and the dark. That's why they need to shame it, is because that's where getting through the negative crap that they continuously project upon, rather than saying, hey, here's the greatest way you could probably live your life, is just processing through those negative feelings and emotions rather than shaming them, or getting a posse around you that's just going to enable them. Dope. So, dealing with it. Focusing on it for just like 5 minutes a day. Saying, okay, sheer fuckery. Set your alarm. Set your timer. 5 minutes of sheer fuckery. One issue of sheer fuckery that you just need to sit and deal with. I did this sheer fuckery thing, and I'm going to fucking look at it, and I'm going to freaking heal it. Now that I have your full attention, and I'm not going to be monetized. So, the notion that there needs to be whatever the heck it is, shame, guilt, fear, whatever, around that issue. Figure out what that served. What was serving you through making that particular action, a pattern of whatever. And no, we can't blame mommy and daddy. Ooh, but everybody else says I can. Nope. Because that's not personal responsibility. Okay? So, trying to get off the Elmo train here. Okay, so. Not stepping into the, hey, this is somebody else's fault. Somebody else put this pad in here. It might have been planted. Abso-fucking-lutely. I'm not saying that, oh, this festered from the depths from myself. Rarely does that ever happen. However, if we don't say, I chose to be this way in the world because I had a belief system that was going to work out good for me. When in actuality, when I words, when I am cruel to other people, I'm being cruel to myself, because I have now just disconnected myself from the entire web of humanity by thinking, by being that particular way to other people, that I am somehow serving a whatever need within myself to feel okay in my body. When in actuality, that's separating me from humanity, thus making it easier to disrespect myself. It's all about the self. I hate doing this. I really do. It's, oh, if you're not in it, you're going to be like, she's the narcissist. Ew. So when we can convince ourselves that the person that's over there, that's, might have lit a few of our butt hairs on fire, are, in the control seat, what have we just done? We've not only self-abandoned, we've self-betrayed, and now we have this modality that's not going to work. Because we believe ourselves to be powerless, and we've just disconnected from the web of humanity. So we're facilitating this nonsensical narrative that all the lovely little soap operas want us to follow. Okay, so shift the perspective and say, okay, I'm going to radically love myself. So if someone does set my butt hairs on fire, I'm not going to self-abandon and fly off a handle. I'm going to stay with myself, look directly at them and say, did you just say that? And then repeat the thing. Did you mean that? What was your intent there? Okay. In a non-accusatory manner, just ask curiously, what was your intent behind that comment? Okay. So you don't need to even let that lighter get anywhere near your bum. It's not a requirement. You don't have to open anybody else's box of darkness. You acknowledge the box of darkness and you ask them what the hell they're going to do about it, because it's not yours. Okay? Okay. So, shaming the self for implants and this, that, and the other thing, not the answer. Blame shifting, also not the answer. How am I going to behave differently in the future? How do I choose differently? What are my options here? How can I be a different human in the world? And do I have to care about people that are going to be pissed off about that? Okay, until next time, I love you. Keep your fun.